Hello, everybody. This is Ram Prakash speaking on the subject of rejigging approaches for post-COVID construction scenarios. As a preamble, all post-COVID constructions will strongly depend upon rejigging of all existing approaches, dogmas, systems, and use of the young and eager genre of India, both urban and rural, just like how the pandemic has changed age-old idiosyncrasies, social responsibilities, economic outlook, pertinent norm changes, and technological imperatives which are the need of the hour. The analysis of the parameters is attempted on the micro and macro scale. On the macro scale, social, economic, norm changes, and technological is handled. And on the micro scale, technology shifts for post-COVID catch-up and takeoff is handled. Now let's first deal with the macro scale. On the macro scale, in the social aspects, the following are the parameters to be considered. One is the disturbed and widely dispersed original skilled workers, possibly to be reckoned with. Next is tackling of worker reluctance, resistance to go back to old work and living scenarios, and wanting a rejigged approach. Next is the wanting by preference back to rural living with kith and kin and enjoying together whatever the spoils. The next aspect is the offshoot is of seeking changed outlook to earning and living. And next one will be the possibly resulting in small entrepreneurship. There's a possibility that new entrepreneurs will come on the rural side. Now, skill development and upgrade at doorstep via webinar modules is possible and maybe need of the hour. Continuing on the social scale, necessities will be easily connected by digital systems and tech-savvy mobiles and service platforms. One needs to be having the facility to be easily connected by digital systems, tech-savvy mobiles and service platforms from wherever. All changes integrated with agriculture cultivation, which may be a parallel operation with other members of kith and kin. This is also an outlook change, which is likely to be the scenario. Then there needs to be incubator backups of object-driven management groups, motivating result-oriented and tech-savvy growth at micro levels, and health centers and health insurances made practical, made nearby, and down to earth, as well as friendly. On the economic side, in the macro scale, the following will be required. One would be the prioritized finance approach, imbibing fast course corrections without bureaucracy in a hands-on way and at the optimum and crucial juncture. Next is the micro-managerial systems, imbibing result-oriented action plans. Then there would be proposals and forays, imbibing solutions, having minimum infra requirements. The attitude will be to be an entrepreneur with minimum infra requirements. Then there is the aspect of elimination of unwanted middlemen, which will come in, which is a good development. Only assistance for the uninitiated needs to be positioned, and facilities of cross-country, eased and friendly bank facilities on the digital basis, which is going to be the norm. And banking and payments at doorstep and digital is one of the key issues which might help the environment to benefit. On-hand dispute resolution systems and personnel with real fast judgment portrayals need to be at hand. Then on the macro scale, one has to think about the norm changes. The following norm changes are likely to be the scenario. One is work from home and its vicinity and flexible working hours. This is one of the things that is going to kick in. Next is the service bureaus to service rejig digital systems and equipments, which will be the umbilical cord which connects the world to the local scenario. Rural homebound talented women stepping into development and as backup genre and in entrepreneurship and lead roles. It's quite possible that the women are stepping into the entrepreneurship as well as the lead roles. Environment creation for direct involvement of rural and urban women craving for knowledge, skills, adding to the workforce and talent. There is a big eagerness to pick up skill sets by the women, which will be served by these changes. Women education and upliftment fostered by funding and placing women organizations. This can be with women organizations which will be formed by themselves or by the organizations. Idlers will be roped in for possibilities as a possibility, making rural genre purposeful and rewarded, if not healthy too. The idlers would be motivated to see progress and would want to take part in them. Family and joint family life strengthened and allowed to share the achievements and accolades is one of the developments that is likely to take place in this revised scenario. Entertainment and sports in electronic mode at doorstep and in beck and call incubates artistic, sport, and health initiatives. And then on the macro scale, technology is one of the issues that would come in. What are the changes that might be required, which will come in, are modular design and construction as a norm than an exception. Modular design is one of the key factors that is missing in the first generation of designs in India. And it is likely that modular designs and construction will be a norm in the future. Ease of construction and back of mind at design stage and planning stage. It will not be a separate entity that design is separate and construction is separate. Ease of construction at back of mind will govern the design stage. Simplifying of systems for transportation, handling, and erection. This will be a big ask that transportation systems are rejigged to handle and erect different scenarios that are likely to crop up. Doubly fast and real fast-paced construction will be need of the hour. The person who, the genre which serves to do real fast-paced construction and will stand out in this scenario. Next, on the road tax and vehicle tax, etc., needs to be incentivized, subsidized, and augmented, if not dispensed with, for comfortable transportation of materials and components. For too long, it has been that transportation would be a key factor, that there will not be growth in the outer circles compared to the requirement. Modular design in services with intelligent systems showcasing easy turnaround repair modules will be the need of the hour. Much of the repairs would always be needed to be on the modular basis, so that there is a quick turnaround in case of downtimes. Next generation recycle and reuse of water, including maybe compulsory drip irrigation to plant life, environment savvy growth will be required. Renewable energy at all rooftops will be dispensing with losses of transmission and distribution thereon. One example to use would be the German example of longitudinal and across pipes in roads for services at every 15 meters or so of the longitudinal dimension of the road is one of the key issues to avoid problems whenever there are issues with respect to both plumbing as well as electricity. Integration of multimodal transport is a key factor, and dedicated cycle and busways will be a reality for a healthy living. Continuing on the macro scale with respect to technology, small and medium mechanized manufacture and dedicated clusters in satellite towns and akin to infra, as in auto spare parts manufacture, should come into construction and will be coming in. USA-like approach to house construction, including modular approach, do-it-yourself initiative, have Home Depot-like setups, and a supply chain giving multitude of choices is the one that is being craved about in India, which is going to come in the new scenario. And Singapore-like tenders, where maintenance for 10 years after construction is must in the tenders, will motivate sustainability in design. Project 4 is, as of the Mumbai type, where 55 flyovers were built in 3 years with a ruthlessly down-to-earth and imposingly workable approach. This is a classic example of what is going to happen in the new scenario in India, where Mumbai has set the first foot forward. And next is the China-like approach, where cost is nearly secondary. Only time, innovation, and international standards govern. Much of China has imbibed this to come up in the last decade to international standards in the bomb, which is definitely going to come in, because once too often, so many things govern to disrupt any progress. And it is a question of time that this is going to come in right now. The young ones will do all of above as their countrymen peers have done abroad. The example for the young ones of the present is of the peers who have done it abroad and proved that they are a cut above anybody by their example. Now let's switch over to the micro scale. On the micro scale, following our technology shifts for post-COVID catch-up and takeoff. First, on the infrastructure and its systems. Infrastructure imperatives will spring up involving local and multi-grid-like connectivity of roads, if not also of trains and air travel, air cargo transit, etc., on an affordable basis with appurtenant ease of maneuverability and carriage of large and various sized containers and component parts. This is likely to be the norm in the near future. Will result in new and different early realization ideas, methods, and completion. It will rejig the whole idea of achievability and the realization of ideas, methods, as well as completion. Transport vehicles and systems will result, and mobility will be the undercurrent and watchword, just like how JCBs transform the digging and handling of earth requirements. in the first generation. Railways will be having exclusive freight corridor in the quadrilateral of infrastructure, and trains will have dedicated high-speed lines as possible, following the same network or otherwise. To create these, they will use the apex court mandate of compulsive acquisitions, etc., which brought a sea change to infrastructure. More metros will follow the underground network design, irrespective of cost, so that the ground ambience and the environment don't interfere on its development. Continuing on the micro scale with respect to infrastructure and its systems, country will mandate the necessary cost as it will be only a one-time foray and investment. For too long, the gospel has been, where is the money, where is the fund going from, and things of the kind, which has put off the pace of progress. Now, no longer. It will the country will be mandated, do the necessary cost, take the necessary cost, as it will be only once in a life, once in a night, as it will be only a one-time foray and investment. The approach will be different. Will result in dynamic hands-on talents, use of new material, and international flavor to infrastructure at par and excelling international achievements. This is one of the things that is coming to come into play. Next, on the micro scale, we should look at the lifting and vertical transporting systems. Just like the first generation of lifting tower cranes and winches, second generation systems will result, including doubling of them due to lesser human availability and due to more demanding delivery. It is likely that most of the handling systems will have to be doubled or appended to handle the current scenario of the future, scenario of the near future. Many design and manufacturing concepts and realities will result, including Philip to Make in India initiatives. Because of this lifting and handling situations, many initiatives will develop. Then we come to the aspect of large integrated and near finished component development. Just like how the Type A1 tower was built, multiple floors of a building or facility would be finished at factory or at ground level and transported to position with large capacity tower cranes and concepts to achieve double progress. Type A1 in Type A was one of the things which had 2 floors of a multi-story building being assembled in a factory, taken, flown by helicopters to the top of the building and added one upon the other with a augmented tower crane in the middle, which could handle in the midst of traffic. This example will be followed in many places to augment the manufacture of floor-wise components. Built environment will see large panel construction for factories, warehouses, offices, malls, and low-rise hospital facilities. Large panel construction is just moved in, but it will be the norm of the future. Easily handleable heavy-duty machinery, thoughts and requirements will result. Integration of mechanical systems and the construction civil systems will become the norm of the future. Continuing on the micro scale, with respect to changes in construction components, the first generation PEB systems will be augmented by second generation PEB systems for multi-story buildings and facilities, resulting in enormous speed, rigidity, and larger spans. Also, formwork-free columns, form-free deck sheet-supported concrete floors result, boosting the steel industry and bringing steel construction costs to lower levels. Once the industry is boosted by demand, the costs are likely to come down. The difference between the steel and concrete construction would come down, and the speed will make up for the value engineering. Use of composite construction will result in corrosion-protected steel buildings for coastal and water-prone places, if not everywhere. Composite construction, composite construction is going to be coming in a large way in most of the construction as a parallel to steel construction. Precast panel walls with necessary finishes integrated will be on demand in multi-floor buildings. Precast panel walls quicken the finishing of the floors and the construction of multi-storied building, which will come in and will be the norm of the future. Larger sized, lesser weighted precast blocks will sprout in external and internal walls and partitions. Lightweight precast concrete blocks or precast blocks will result and would be a requirement. No longer will it be a small component issue. The precast blocks will all be a large component issue with lesser weight and things of kind, such that handling is easy and use also is extensive. Interiors with noise-proof drywall partitions will be used in a large scale, as against masonry walls. Paver blocks, curbstones, drains, etc. will be made with polymer concrete and cementless, hence curingless. Adhesives will replace conventional systems. Paver blocks, etc. have all been bonded together with cement mortars. Now the norms are going to be that polymer concrete is likely to come in and replace them, and the bonding is with adhesives which need no curing. Even water permeable pavers would be in large demand. The recent developments of water permeable pavers would come in both with respect to regular concrete pavers as well as polymer concrete, as use of polymer concrete. Going on the micro scale further, in pre-stressed concrete, pre-stressing wires would be replaced by higher grade steels having more elongation controls and could be used parallelly with FRP cables. This is likely to be the next generation in pre-stressed cables, which is likely to come in. Simpler anchorages will result and material technology will be replaced by lesser members having creep and shrinkage, etc. This is the cry of pre-stressed concrete that changes with respect to anchorages and material technology is likely to be the change of the future. External pre-stressing will be in large demand for its use and reliably efficient grouting aspect. External pre-stressing is a next generation growth in pre-stress, which will bring in ease and reliably efficient grouting aspect, which was suspect in some of the cases in pre-stressed concrete. Use of much higher grades of concrete and slider sections and larger spans, likely with multi-grade flyovers. This is one of the possibilities which is likely to govern in the near future. On the micro scale again, we look at design and construction. Extensive use of modular designs will be imposed to simplify construction and manufacture of subsystems and components. As I said earlier, modular designs are the need of the hour and they need to be brought in on a large scale, with majority following the modular systems. Fillip will be given to creative designers who bring out easier way of achieving the targets and construction. the persons who will survive are the persons who are creative designers who bring out easier way of achieving the targets and construction. Assemblages with component ideas will be preferred to cope with the reduction, if any, of available manpower. The assemblages with component ideas will be preferred to cope with the reduction of any of available manpower. This will all be bridged with respect to reduction in manpower by assemblages in design. Continuing on design, new claddings will result like intelligent ones using the solar radiations, intelligent heat sensitized exteriors, etc. This is likely to come in. New generations of researchers will result in all research institutions to give backup to the need of the hour in all matters of design, construction, etc. Most research groups will be online with respect to construction and design as a forerunner to growth. No longer issues in the built environment will be in disarray and haphazard. All will be only result oriented, like in the IT sector approaches, resulting in smart design, construction, and economy. Integration of the different groups is going to be the necessity and is likely to be the scenario. What is difficult for a civil engineer is easy for a mechanical engineer, and what is difficult for a mechanical engineer is easy for a civil engineer, as well as the same with services and systems. This is likely to change the built environment. Teamwork will be the answer to the challenge after COVID recovery, just like in the IT sector. In the IT sector, teamwork is the byword. And here again, teamwork will be the answer to all the challenges. Now on the micro scale, let us see on the services. All systems in plumbing, electrical, and firefighting will be more smart and modular with smart meters, controls, and fire prevention and dowsing facilities, efficacy. Water treatment, reuse, and zero waste concepts will kick in urgently. Water will be a very, very costly resource in the near future because of its misuse, which will all be plugged. System automation will be the norm than the exception. Automation in the various or automation systems in the various services will be the norm than the exception. Flood control and maintenance and monitoring of water bodies and their upkeep will be mandated. No longer will the flood affect the progress and growth if all these are put in. Continuing on the micro scale, there are general factors which are going to come in. One is regulatory bodies will have highly knowledgeable and practically friendly genre so they can partner and boost innovation and achievement in all sectors. It will not be a compartmentalized outlook. The regulatory bodies will have highly knowledgeable and practically friendly personnel so that they will also be a part of the innovation and achievement in all sectors. Crop of senior peer reviewers, like as in Singapore, will be imbibed to assist from practicing professionals, having minimum 20 to 25 years in practice in each field. In Singapore, the norm is to have the peer review mandated by persons who have had practice of more than 20 to 25 years. This is a healthy development to see the prevention of failures, which will walk into Indian construction scenario. Deterrent systems and quick punishment to the corrupt will be in place to achieve the aims of quick development and change. No longer will be put up with a lot of corrupt practices. Deterrent systems and quick punishment will come in. Municipal bodies will function like a corporate, consisting of authorities who are highly educated in each subject and will continue to develop by resorting to periodical courses and training. Many of the municipal bodies did not know the word of periodical skill development and training, and it was secondary to them. But it will no longer be so in the future. The government will most likely change to the once propounded banking transaction tax system of taxing, not only in order to ensure easy and definite collection for development, but also to help in ease of business principles to come anywhere near the need of the nation. There was a proposition by a group of enlightened chartered accountants from, I believe, Pune, who have given a wonderful system called the banking transaction tax system, which gets more collection and is much simpler and is less hurting, because the tax base will improve from present standards of few crores to the multitude, and it would not harm them too. The coastal authorities need to review compulsorily every standard once in maybe 3 years, like in all countries which have developed as planned or more. The coastal authorities earlier were very averse to changes in the codes. Now, no longer. I think with changes every 3 years is coming in, and it is being mandated shortly. And this will benefit the upgradation of construction. With this, I salute the new genre for having the capacity, but the skill set wherewithal will be imbibed, but the largest of some of the experience were performed at home or abroad. The new genre is going into the aspect of skill development, as can be seen in the multitude of webinars which has gone not only cross country, but it has gone cross international, with participants from all the international countries sharing head to head, hand to hand with the Indians, and the benefit will be the construction sector. I salute the new genre for having the zeal and the capacity, but the skill set wherewithal will be imbibed, but the largest of some of the experienced who have performed at home or overseas and who are ready to hand the baton of gritty experiences and changes incorporated from the multitude of achievements in adverse circumstances. Previous generations have worked in adverse circumstances and delivered. These people have an ocean of experience on how to handle problems in construction towards development. And this will be the norm of the hand. It will be handy for the new genre, for having the zeal and for the new genre, which is having the zeal and the capacity. With this, I conclude. In the conclusion, the following points should be considered. For achieving the hot gospel of recovery, the nation has to mandate changes here and now, as it is at the crossroads, and it will. Lot of norm changes, changes in approach, changes in attitude, changes in systems will be needed, because we are at the crossroads and change is coming. Country has to decide whether to recover and take off to survive, or fall into the quagmire of uncertainty and helplessness and slip into the world of the uncertain. This is what is the bane of all the approaches that are needed and will come in. The genre of the nation has fully realized that it has no option but to not only take a turn, but also to call out the dogmas, the snail type impractical world of thoughts and for development and growth. The genre of the nation has realized this aspect. The resource of the large, vibrant young of the nation knows that if they work on the archaic attitudes, principles, and environments of the past, they can not only survive like the Indian counterparts who have pushed up the Western countries by their prowess, but also create an India of their dreams, which their parents would be proud of, and India would then come back to the glorious heritage and living of the ancient past. All are now sure of the aim and convinced of the capacity to not only survive from the pandemic, but also to take center stage in the Committee of Nations of the world. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. Today I'm going to talk about on water and climate positive infrastructures, opportunities for consultancy in engineering. To introduce myself, I am Professor Mohan. I'm currently as Institute Chair Professor and Professor of Civil Engineering, Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Madras, Chennai. So my contents are to talk about a little about the Sustainable Development Goals, then the opportunities for consultancy business, and how do we take the benefit of climate action and also the water situation, and clean energy, urban development, infrastructure, wastewater, and carbon services. And also what are the innovations that it is required in this domain of area. And let us summarize the lecture towards the end. So the main point is sustainability. It is a buzzword now, and it's not only a buzzword, but it is more a meaningful word that we have to make sustain the ability to carry out the system. So that's the meaning of sustainability. So the capacity to endure not only for us, but also our future generations. A new fact of life, it is no longer enough that infrastructure work that it be constructed on time and within budget, or even that it lasts, but it now must be sustainable. So earlier we were talking about only the cost of the project or the benefit of the project, but now the benefit goes not only for our generation, but also on the future generation. That is what is called sustainable. UN has come out with 17 goals of sustainable development to transform our world. The number one is no poverty, then zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institution. And the last one is partnership for the goals. So these goals provide an opportunity for every country to look at our own thing, have an introspection, and go in the right direction what the sustainable development. The three dimensions of sustainable development that many of you are knowing. So the basic definition is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. I need not elaborate, all of you are expert on this. But for sustainable development to be achieved, it is crucial to harmonize three core elements. One is economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. So earlier we were talking about only the economic growth. But now these two are very important, social inclusion as well as environmental protection. So that's what the environmental impact assessment, all those things have been come to mainly for the environmental protection. So another way to look at the sustainable development goals as a part of 5 P's. The first P is people. So they have divided that the 17 goals into these 5 headings: people, prosperity, peace, partnership, and planet. The same thing that you might have seen the other thing. So if I want to look at all these 5 P, then there is a good potential for consultancy. Or what we wanted is, or my main uh, idea of this particular lecture to impress upon you that it is not the basic design or the basic analysis is more important. We have to go beyond that. Look at little more on environment, a little more on the decentralization rather than looking for the same old thinking process. So this is a conference. Last year it was held in Copenhagen on SDG Universal. You can just see the entire hotel was put on with all the 17 goals. So it is more on the, we have talked about, there are many aspects of this, but now the time has come that we have to start implementing many of the principles what it has been there in the sustainable development goal. Now we have to start implementing, and you are the best person as consulting engineers. You have to take up this in a greater way. So let me look at little more on the our Indian conditions. By this end of this year, almost another 1 month, nearly 17% of the total young population in the world will live in India. That means we have a lot of future generations. And whatever we construct or whatever we do, we have to look for little more beyond the design period or whatever you are, we have been following it. And especially in India, it is very much essential. So you can just see the other countries, and you can 2010 it is 6.83 billion, and it is going to be 7.55, and mostly the young people have to be between 15 and 34, is almost 40%, 45% will be in our country. So this is more important, and the world level it is 17%. That's why we have to be more concerned about sustainable development than any other country. And the working population is a driving factor in growing urban population by more than 1.3 times by 2020. So if you look at the growth in urban population, if you look at it, 2014, it is only 377 million. By 2020, it is 465. That means there are large improvement, but at the same time, we also assuming that it is an opportunity for India. So 29 is average age, will have the largest youth workforce, and 70% of the country's net GDP will be the contribution by these people, and 40% to be increase in the urban disposable income. So that way there is a lot of work on urbanization, smart cities, and other aspects are very much needed, which maybe always don't forget the sustainable development as back in our mind. So the large scale urbanization is posing several problems, which may be which will be accelerated further. Maybe if you are designing for another 50 years, at that time these problems may be aggravating. So we may have to start looking at little more on this particular one. The first and foremost is traffic. So the traffic congestion cost almost around $10 billion per year, the expenditure. 3 Indian cities in the top 10 list of worst traffic conditions. And 1% of the world's car in India amounts to 10% of the world's road accident death. So we have to be concerned about it. So can we not come out with a design which may reduce all these things, okay, yes, and improve the traffic condition and reduce the accident, that one has to really look at it. It is not designing the road. Designing the road not only for the vehicle traffic, but also look at on, can we reduce the air pollution? Can we reduce the road accident? To be, in fact, I would say it's a 0% road accident death because of the road. Okay, of course, people behavior also is important, but at the same time, we have to make our infrastructure which need to be little more accident free. Then power, India loses around $68 billion of its GDP due to electrical shortage. So India faces daily power outage of 30,000 megawatts. Over 300 million citizens do not have access to electricity. Okay, of course, this figure is having a discussion, but this is something that what it has been there in the record. On the other hand, the water is one of the major important problem, that 40 to 50% water lost in the distribution system. Especially in cities, this figure is very high, or 50% of the water, because you may be knowing that we are getting water for all the cities, at least minimum 100 kilometer outside. So it has to be transported. You take Chennai, it comes from 235, and Bangalore, it is more than 100 kilometer. Jaipur, it is around 200 kilometer. So every city gets water from almost around more than 100 kilometer. That means, and if 50% is water is lost in the distribution system, then that means whatever we are, if you look at the efficiency multiplication, then the efficiency is going to be very, very low. And 22 of India's 32 big cities face water crisis. And 170 million people in urban areas have no access to safe water. So on the other hand, similarly, because all of them will lead to the health care. So one doctor for, we have only 1,700 people, more than 1 in 4 newborn deaths occur in India, and 5% of Indians are covered by, only 5% is covered by insurance policy. This need to be improved quite a lot. So that is where there is a lot of opportunity for making a good consultant. I also take the water. If you look at it, the water side, it is 5% is only domestic, and industry is 6%, agriculture is 89%. And if you look at it, the water and sewage, what it waste and sewage, what it comes is around 16.24 trillion liters, and out of that, only 5.84 is treated. So remaining thing goes into again water bodies. So that means there is a need to have a decentralized treatment system for this. We need not go on think about the big treatment system, but I would always advocate an apartment should be self-sufficient in treatment and reuse the water. Okay, so the population is going to be increased quite a lot, and urbanization, as I mentioned. But at the same time, one good thing is the per capita income is going to increase. So people are going to be affordable in urban areas. So we can go for a decentralized wastewater treatment, or if an apartment is there in a city, it should be zero waste and zero liquid discharge. Why not we apply the same thing to apartment or even individual house? So that need to be looked into little more. And also agriculture, let us not forget about it. So that's also, there is a lot of scope that we need to improve upon it, or try to create infrastructure so that the efficiency of only around 35 to 45 what it is there should be increased to 90%. Then I think we can, a simple thumb rule is, if I can save 10% of the agriculture water, I can meet the domestic requirement. If 20% I can save, then I can meet the domestic and industrial requirement. So I'm not saying to take it out the water, what it is in the agriculture, but there is good chance to improve the efficiency. That what it is needed is a good infrastructure. So rather than anything else, it is more on infrastructure and also use of ICT. I think that will bring little better focus in our country. So maybe if you can just see all out of the cities, 54% of the water crisis, 54% of the India faces high to extremely high water stress. So high water stress is if per person, if it is less than 1,700 meter cube, then automatically it is going to be a problem. And 844 million people have no access to safe water, and 1 million die due to water, sanitation, and hygiene related diseases each year. By 2030, the water use could 6% loss in GDP. So that means this is one of the major important thing. And one more point which is really striking our mind, and all of you should know, 21 cities which we have been go on using the groundwater. By end of this year, this will be run out of the groundwater. Especially the dynamic groundwater will not be there. So that means you may have to import from other places. So that makes cost is more, and there is a lot of environmental impact. So this is one thing that it is needed, but at the same time we need to increase our production because more people, more population to be fed. So the domestic consumption, on the other hand, this is one thing that I request all the consulting engineers to look at it. That previously we were talking about only what the water, certain water comes into the apartment or in the house, and the same thing 80% goes as sewage, or even sometimes it is 90%. But now I think uh, we have taken a lead, and I happen to be the chairman of the State Environmental Expert Appraisal Committee. So we were insisting on that any apartment also should recycle the grey water and then utilize it for their toilet flushing purpose and other purposes. And you can just imagine, or this is the research data, that we are using almost around 28% for bathing, and toilet is 20%, and washing clothes is 19%, and washing utensils is 16%, and house cleaning is 7%. Of course, if you remove the drinking, cooking, and 2% on the other side, and also the toilet. So mostly, almost around 66 to 70% is grey water. So this is not black water. What it comes from the toilet and urinals, that will be coming as a black water. Remaining thing as uh, almost around 66 to 70% can be recycled and put into mainly for toilet flushing or your green growth in your own apartment or in the cities where we had a lot of trees, and the trees have been cut mainly for the urban infrastructure, and that can be created by using this particular water. You need not look for some more water as such, and automatically it may go down and then get recharged if it is excess. So 70% of the water out of the water what I am taking inside can be recycled without any problem. You may ask that grey water, is it a costly one? No, it is only I have to do three things: a sand filter and an activated carbon filter, and also do a disinfectant. This may not cost, this may be around only 1/20th of the sewage treatment cost. The power also is not requirement. So why not we start designing the system with these grey water recycling. Now it is in Tamil Nadu, it is by compulsion by the state government law, they wanted that the grey water should be recycled. There is no other option. I think this uh, lesson can be replicated in other cities also, where grey water can be recycled. So you can really make a drastic reduction of the water demand from the city population. That's the point that what I would like to tell on this. And also, we also, if you look at the water, this is something mind-boggling figure. So even something vegetarian or non-vegetarian, we are using a lot of water compared to other countries. And you can just see 1 kg of chicken to grow get a 1 kg of chicken, almost 7,736 liters have been spent on it. And whereas world average is 3,918. Whereas milk, we are also spending a lot of water and 1,369, and compared to the world average itself is 990. And cotton is somewhat almost 3 times or 4 times the water what it is being used by world. So that means there is a lot of water are getting wasted, which may not be really being. That means there is a potential that with 8,242 liters, I can grow 1 kg of cotton. But what is happening here, it is 18,694. That means there is a room for making good efficiency. And egg, for that matter, it is almost around double the amount that what we are using it. And compared to the annual domestic consumption also, we are we are on the little on the higher side, and maybe chicken, milk, or cotton and egg. So both together, I think this is what it is going to increase, and by uh, uh, future period, it will be much more as important. So unless we start looking at how to reduce this thing, at least at the world average level, then we'll be able to solve some of the water problems. So the water issues today, in every sector we consume water, but also pollute the same. In developing countries, 70% of the industrial estates are dumped without treatment. This is what I am not saying, World Development Report of 2013. Each liter of wastewater discharge further pollutes, again, almost around 10 liters of water, and raising industrial use to 35 to 50%. So wastewater treatment system are essentially installed only to meet the wastewater discharge norms. Industry meets required. So we have to look for a decentralized, safe treatment and disposal of wastewater is a challenge. I think when we design a system, let us design for all and all for one. That is what, especially on the water, you may have to look at it, and also think of this thing: effective conservation, reduce and recycling is a need of the hour. So that, I think, we have to change our mindset on this. The water issues on the tomorrow's, in near future, all sector would consume more water than today for capacity building and operation. Where we are going to get this additional water? It's not possible, because as per hydrological science, the total amount of water is constant. So it may be there in the glacier, or it may be there in a sea, or it may be in a land as surface water or groundwater, but total is constant. So whether you take a 1950 data or 2020 data, it is the same. So it is not unless we start creating something from air. The water also is now being researched on that, but the air water also, it comes along the cycle, hydrological cycle. So one has to find new water, but that may not be possible unless we all move to some other planet. It may not be possible. There also the water may not be available. So only way is that we have to conserve or try to improve the efficiency in water, and let us not make lot of wastewater. And there is, and also I would always say that there is nothing called wastewater. So it is, I think our mindset should change, that it is not a wastewater, it is a used water, and only the pollution is 1%. So if the decentralized wastewater treatment systems are available in every house or every apartment or every industry, I think we can manage without any problem, and that will be sustainable water system. So the three things which I look at on that is, the answer is water reuse technologies and resources recovery, and also you can generate energy from the sludge or the solid waste what we are talking about. So these are very essential for the water issues. So this is, I have already told that we are getting cities in search of for water. Chennai get from 235 kilometer, and Bangalore is around 100 kilometer. Hyderabad is around 130 kilometer, and Bhopal it's more than 30 kilometer, and even Agra, which is very nearby, but needs extensive treatment. So now there is a new thinking process that what is called a SWAP project. Treated wastewater used by industries and agriculture frees up water which could be used to meet the city's water demand. So this water demand, that is what, if they can reuse both in agriculture and the industries, then that water can be used for the other demand. Or I would say all the three demand, domestic or industry or the agriculture, have to be a little more efficient, so that you can reuse the same water and then try to utilize it. Then that will be the only solution for water. So when you make a design or consultancy, I think this is very important that we have to take into more on look out on sustainability on this thinking process. So in addition to it, we have other problem, which is called climate change. So even though sometimes people say that industries are responsible for it, it is not. Industries, some portion it is responsible. But in addition, we have dumping lot of solid waste. So these solid waste will emanate CH4 or methane quite a lot compared to any other emission. So CH4 has almost around 21 times more climate change or the potential, okay, or the climate change creating potential almost around 21 times than the CO2. So if I can solve the solid waste problem, then I may solve the climate change problem. That means 2-degree rise is what it is being postulated, and we have to look at it. It is not in any norms for our Indian side. 2 degree is nothing. People will say it is only 2 degree we can manage. No, the 2 degree makes lot of changes both in water and even ecosystem. I would say that 1 degree rise itself will make lot of microorganisms to die, and new vulnerable microorganism will come. So this may create more drought and somewhere more flood, and all these things will be much more problem. So unless we reduce our potential for the climate change potential, that then only we'll be able to do that. Otherwise, whatever we are talking about, this is another negative point. So unless we attack on that, that will take away some more water, or somewhere it will be making flood, somewhere it is making drought, and somewhere the automatically your agriculture will be affected, drinking water will be affected, and so on. So by 2050, if the emissions could have to be cut by over 60% relative to the business as usual scenario, in order to give a reasonable change in staying below this warming target. Even to retain within 2 degrees, we have to cut down a lot of 60% of the emissions. So how do we do that? So agriculture also is not an exception. So there also we are, certain crops will release some methane. So one has to be very careful on it. And even in a household, we have a lot of emissions. So this need to be looked into it. That is what the gap, which is almost around 63% if we are going business as usual. Okay. So, and the climate change has a lot of impact, not only on the water available, but energy sector, it will be having a problem, and also the environmental impact. Even for growth, it will be a major issue, and especially the child mortality, all those things also may be, or it has been reported that that may also may affect will be affected by climate change. So one has to really look at on can we not reduce the temperature as such within. So that is where the green infrastructure will come into picture. So climate action, is this a cost or an opportunity for business? So I would say that now this is a good opportunity for business. The water, any uh, uh, kind of a problem, then it comes, then that automatically makes the people to work for a new solution. So I would always look at on the climate change and the water scarcity will be good for you to think of a new maybe if you are designing a highway, or if you are designing a treatment plant, or if you are designing a apartment, or any neighborhood, or even the thing, everything, if you start looking at these, so there is a very good possibility that your innovative design will help a lot for the consultancy business. So there are ways that we can start looking at it. So mainly, how do we do that? Research and development, how to combat the climate change, or how to combat the water thing, or wastewater treatment, or maybe the greenhouse gas emission reduction. All those things that need to go into your actual implementation. So of course you need financing, technology and ideas. We may have to demonstrate, and deployment. That is where we are now. So we may have some technologies, and more importantly, I would always look for some nature-based technologies rather than something that, like wastewater treatment. We look at the very old technique of our own country, which is constructed wetland. So these wetlands, especially in Madurai, it has been working for 200 years. The wastewater is gone into some land, and in that land they are growing grass and vegetables. It is only, at that time, it was only the sewage contains only the waste from the toilet and so on. But nowadays, I think there are some more contaminants which are called emerging contaminants are all coming. So earlier, this has been proved to be a very good technique. So let us also look at on that for sustainable development, and you can go for market. So my request is we have to go very step, and there is no what do you call the preparing time. It may not be there now. There is no time. We have to start, wake up, and then start running. Then only we may be able to meet the other countries' requirements, or we can be equal to that. So my next couple of slides, I would like to talk about on the opportunities for consultancy. For these are the tech areas where one has to really look at it on in terms of what I try to tell is especially water and also the waste. These thing, and also of course infrastructure. So first is the consultancy businesses responding to climate change and water gain and competitive edge from technology leadership. So you can claim that you are coming out with a new design which can take care of the climate change and also the water efficient. I think these two have to go parallelly. The firms can address flaws within our own operations, supply chain, and markets to reduce the climate risk. So here also we are trying to look at it. Even solid waste is a supply chain, and look at on how I can make that supply chain to be more efficient without discharging a lot of or emanating a lot of methane. That once you have the good supply chain where you get more material which can pollute, or the air pollution will be more, and accordingly you can look at it. So the accelerate innovation in high demand, climate friendly services and technologies, and water friendly services and technologies, avoid cost, manage liabilities, build resilient communities, expand market share and create wealth, build corporate reputation and good citizenship. That there is a good chance that we have to start working on it, on the both on climate change and water sector. So the clean energy is one area where, in fact, we are very good. So we have a lot of solar energy compared to European countries or something. We have throughout the 12 months we have. So can we not work on that particular clean energy? So according to international energy assessment side, so $24 trillion of investment is needed by 2020 to keep temperature rises below the 2-degree goal. So unless we start with the clean energy rather than the energy which may, like coal, where if you are doing you may get energy but lot of pollution and emission of SO2, CO2, and this will be very high. So if I want to reduce it, I have to look for clean energy. The clean energy are wind, solar, and geothermal is one which we have not yet touched. We have started a little bit, but there is a lot of, whereas US has gone almost very far off on using the geothermal energy. So in fact, last year I was in University of Illinois, Chicago. So 2 buildings are completely whatever air conditioned or heated will be only by through geothermal. Even their own energy for the 2 big buildings are only from geothermal. So I think we have to start looking at that, bioenergy and nuclear, carbon capture. This is one of the new techniques, so that you need not send a lot of CO2 out. So you can store it, and by the trees are very important on that. So a lot of carbon capture and storage, electric vehicles, our emission will be less, and energy efficiency. So there is a very good opportunities on rather than putting only on electrical energy or coal-based thermal energy, you go for this particular one. So if you can include this into your design, it will be much more better, or it is more wanted as far as the sustainable development and the climate change side. So urban development, there are a lot of consultancy opportunity. You can have energy efficiency is a fundamental. So building energy efficiency, opportunity to span grass, residential, commercial and industrial building, business opportunities and service need. And you have load reduction and energy management, energy efficient assessment, auditing. Auditing is one of the very good thing that you can take a lot of consultancy on is what it is needed. Then cities need to be planned differently. So now it's not a buzzword, but this is a need of the hour. One is low carbon. So even when we have what we are making it, whenever we design a treatment plan, we also estimate what is the carbon footprint. And if I am going to tell about 2 treatment plant, I compare with carbon footprint or water footprint. And if I am reducing the carbon footprint, then I am changing, I am contributing less to climate change. And that is what the low carbon technologies. So it is not low technology, low carbon technologies and mass transit, okay, and climate resilient. So sometimes what we have, one of the problem is if one city has one population and another city has higher population, we just replicate. Suppose Barcelona density is more 28 times higher than the Atlanta. We are just designing 28 times, but which may not be. So you can design the same thing with only some 2 times or 3 times. We can still develop while carrying the same number of people. So first aim at the same level. Reality, it is not so. We can do quite a lot on this. So the key takeaway for that is spatial structures matter a lot. So one has to really look at on that particular aspect here. Then the urban planning and design, even people are now looking at urban forestry. Because why urban forestry? We have a lot of carbon emission that it comes from cities because you have concrete buildings and so on. So that will create the CO2 emission or the SO2 emission. All those things can be reduced by urban forestry. So these are rooftop garden. There are countries like Netherlands. They have created completely within the last 10 years the urban forestry and rooftop gardens. And they are, of course, they are a very small country, but they can do that very well. And efficient transportation, bus rapid transit system, and those things. That these are also, it's a climate action in urban development. Okay, so one has to think of. So now we have started in our country with the smart cities, but there is a long way to go. And the smart cities need to be smart education, smart health, smart IT and communication, smart governance, and smart environment, smart water, and smart buildings, smart transportation, smart energy. So almost the government is investing a lot of money on that. Okay, so but of course with the PPP model, and 80 to 85% is by private agencies, but this we need to go a long way, and I think that's a good start. We have to look at on sustainability, water, energy, and climate change. All of them are part of the smart city attributes. So there are, they also have taken at different cities on the different aspect should be demonstrated. So mainly smart governance is Bhopal, smart building is Gujarat, smart environment is Mumbai, smart IT and communication is Bangalore, smart education is Tamil Nadu, smart health is again Chennai, and smart transportation Visakhapatnam, and smart energy is Ghaziabad. So these are all implemented across the pan India, and there are good way of government will leave long-term benefits by investing in smart cities. Smart cities, one of the good concept is it takes in transportation, energy, water, and all other things which are on a long-term impact. That way, it is very good, and it attracts huge foreign investment and high GDP, and also the environment wise it will be very good. And it is planned to have 100 cities which have been included 20, 40, and 40. So this they are going to be. We hope that this will be a good kind of 100 smart cities will be an example for other countries also. So in addition, the 100 smart cities which are already identified are given here, and some cities are more than 5 million, 1 to 5 million, and less than 1 million. So you can just see these are all eight cities are more 5 million population, whereas these are all the thing. So the infrastructure, there is a lot of opportunity. So investment on climate change adaptation and water efficient, energy efficient are important. See, water efficient and energy efficient will automatically go into climate change adaptation. So you can just the World Bank study found that between 2010 and 2050, the cost of adapting to a 2-degree warmer the world is 70 billion to $100 billion a year. So specific climate justified measures are needed to put in place safe tolerances to climate change impact and uncertainties in water services, energy, and industry. This is what I would like to tell. This includes development and deployment of infrastructure adapted to extreme, including water supply and treatment, drainage, hydropower, and shoreline management. So again, you have a very good important thing: water resource infrastructure, transport infrastructure, coastal infrastructure, because most of our cities are in coast, and of course urban infrastructure. One has to really do a lot of things on looking at the climate change. Even for water resource infrastructure, one has to look at on how to design a dam which can take care of this climate change. So you can just, if you look at the wastewater or the waste, the water source, water service will be most affected by the impact of climate change, like flooding, storms, melting ice, sea level rise, and drought. For wastewater, the businesses can focus on facilities and produce operation, may redesigning mainly as a decentralized one. Don't try to have the same idea of collect everything by spending a lot of energy. It was at the center of the city, there may be a treatment plant, but now there is no space. So the treatment plant has to go at least around 20-25 kilometers away from the city. So you have to pump it. So you need a lot of energy. So that is why I am always saying that go for decentralized wastewater treatment system and also recycling the water after treatment. So adaptive water management will focus on technologies and products such as increased water availability, increasing storage capacity, desalination and water harvesting scheme in agriculture, improved water efficiency or recycling water or reducing losses in the existing system. So you may have to go for a dual plumbing system, reducing demand for irrigation, enhancing water infrastructure designs. And carbon services, which is a very important thing that all of you can start something, because we need to go for a clean development mechanism. Anything, the design, that should be a clean development, whatever, whether you are developing the infrastructure or you are developing an industry or product, that should be clean. That means the emission will be very, very less. So there are around 6,000 CDM projects in total, but these transactions have now, we may have to improve upon it. Future water and climate agreements may result in demands that it will be. So CDM provided a range of opportunities. So we can talk about something on the carbon services, low carbon technologies, and innovation and high tech firm. This also, I think, my request is all the consultancy organizations should have a good together jointly develop an R&D platform or R&D unit, which can come out with some new innovative technologies for new and traditional technology form, improved international competitiveness or as first movers. Okay, so I would say that we have to look at on identifying the opportunity areas, solution fitment, build dedicated team, identify potential partners, collaboration with state governments, thought leadership, and bring global capabilities. I think that way Indian brains are no way inferior to any other brain. So in fact, it is much superior. And if we cannot do it, no one else can do that particular one. Okay. So I think with that, I will summarize. The challenge is really great. So the point you always remember, the emissions should cut at least 60% relative to a business as usual by 2050. Address energy system, water system, cities, infrastructure to meet the emission goal, and business have an opportunity. They can decrease cost, increase market share, and heighten your competitive edge. And taking climate action involves innovation. So you can't use the same technology what it is there. So do something on investment. At least 10% of your profit should go for R&D to get some innovative solution. That is technologies, products, services that help society to adapt climate change and mitigate greenhouse gas emission. Okay. So I think with this, I will stop here. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts to all of you. And only my request is to all of you, one humble request that here afterwards, don't call as a wastewater. It is only used water with only 1% as a thing. I would always say that, suppose I am ill, my family don't throw me out of my home. So we take some medicine and then we'll continue the journey. The same way, take the wastewater, that 1% sickness, we have to remove it and make the journey continue rather than sending it with the same sick person outside. And Corona has given that solution that you should also always have that kind of an immunity. So try to use that. It is not a wastewater, it is a used water. The second is there is nothing called wastewater treatment. It is water recover plant, or don't say treatment. It is water recover plant. The third one is anything, call it as a, don't call it as a waste, whether solid waste or anything, not as a waste, but it is a resource. Use that as a resource, and I think our country can lead on sustainable development with all your change of mind and good consultancy, taking into account all these things rather than following the traditional uh, path. Thank you very much.
Greetings for happy to join ICW 2020 Digital, reviving construction industry in post-COVID world. Thanks to CADC and Dr. Jain, Dr. Swaroop, and Dr. Ratnavel for the wonderful opportunity given to me on this occasion, that is ICW 2020. The topic for the day is role of consulting engineers in RERA and expectation more for engineers from RERA. The real estate industry plays a key position in fulfilling the requirements of the country's housing and infrastructure. The Indian National Congress had in 2013 introduced the Real Estate Regulation and Development Bill in 2015. Based on the recommendations of Rajya Sabha committee, the Union Cabinet approved with major amendments, nearly 20 included. Subsequently, the bill was passed by Rajya Sabha on 10th March 2016 and by the Lok Sabha on 15th March 2016 with an aim to bring the transparency among the real estate transactions so as to protect the interest of the consumers and minimize and eliminate the malpractices done by the developers. While there have been certain developments to the Act over the years, but it has remained largely uncontrolled and lacking standardization and appropriate customer interest protection measures. The main issue for the customers is the failure to provide complete, authentic information of the property they were dealing and lack of accountability on part of developers and builders, along with the absence of an effective regulations. This presentation aims to analyze the role of engineers in RERA and request for making certain recommendations to increase the role of engineers to support and reduce the issue. The RERA Act specifies the creation of real estate authority and tribunal, appellate tribunal for each state. The main aim of RERA is to provide relief to the buyers from the malpractices of unfair builders and developers. In case of any wrongdoing by the builder and developer, the home buyer can also file a complaint to this authority. Some of the highlights we can say that protecting the interest of the home buyer, transparency among real estate industry, eliminate the malpractice done by the few builders and developers. In case of any wrongdoing, the builder or developer, the home buyer can also file a complaint to this authority. But RERA mainly aims at regulating and promoting the real estate sector, ensuring transparency in the real estate project transactions in an efficient manner, safeguarding consumer interests and creating a customer-friendly environment, along with the creating system for adjudicating the timely resolution of conflicts by distinguishing those brought within the authority of the appellate tribunal. Despite being at the nascent stage, it is reassuring to know that we have been seeing a decline in some of the typical grievances, such as delays in delivery, false advertising, and incorrect charges for excess areas, etc. Some of the main objectives in RERA include the following. It establishes the centralized real estate regulatory authority, a specific adjudicatory authority, and the central advisory council. This is also directs the state to create a guideline for controlling the real estate industry in compliance with this act. It enables the transfer of risk bearing from customers to developers by including liability of promoters, builders and developers and real estate agents, etc. There are various detailing has been given in each of the real estate regulatory authority regulations for each state. The Act sets out a process for real estate transaction in which the maintenance of separate escrow account is required for each of the project. This is made very compulsory, of which 30% of the total may be appropriated. The remaining 70% will be only used for the same project. They are not supposed to divert the fund. That is one of the main important things which has been there. No sale or advertisement of any real estate project is permitted without pre-registration with the authority concerned. Provision of mandatory disclosures of all project details from all accounts, audit and reports, etc., to the details of the promoters, developers, agents and engineers, architects and approval authorities, etc. And publish, the same has to be published on the single website for the real estate project. It clarifies and defines the rights and responsibilities and functions of all parties to the project. Significant degrees of malpractice, penalty provisions and penalties of offences committed with the promoters, real estate agents, allotted persons and companies. The Act supersedes all state legislation which is incompatible with the Central Act, and also delegates the power to the member state to draw up their own legislation on the real estate in accordance with the Central Act, this is one of the most important things. Under RERA, a timely grievances of redressal process was developed. The commission, regulator or adjudication officer has been empowered to investigate the consumer or sumoto concerns regarding the infringement of the Act. The real estate tribunal, REIT, is to be formed to deal with the appeals more quickly. A period of 60 days is specified for redressals. Instead of consumer forums, courts, where they are clubbed with the several other consumer disputes, this would create a concentrated platform for real estate dispute redressal. Under RERA law, every state government is required to establish a regulatory authority for the implement its own set of rules and regulations within the scope of statute provisions. Accordingly, rules and regulations have been formulated, and real estate regulatory authorities, that is, each authority and collectively authorities have been set up by the governments of different states in accordance with the RERA mandate. This is one of the main important things. Okay, one more thing we just wanted to highlight here. The role of professionals in RERA. The role of professionals in RERA has been clearly mentioned in the Act actually. The engineers has to certify for the planned and physical. The architect to certify for the construction as per the approval plan. The chartered accountant certify for the planned and actual spend for the project. See, the adjudication before RERA, let's see that actually how it is there. Until RERA, land ventures were legally required by the Town and Country Planning Act or the Apartment Ownership Act. The Town and Country Planning Act was used specifically for the control and growth of land use. The specific property owner of an apartment came under the Apartment Ownership Act. The grievances were dealt with under the Consumer Protection Act 1986. A consumer home buyer may file a complaint with the District Consumer Dispute Redressal Forum, the State Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, or the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. The absence of single regulatory institution for addressing the multiple issues in the real estate sector has been one of the prominent reasons for setting up the Real Estate Regulatory Authority. Nevertheless, the significant debate has been conducted when contrasting RERA with the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission in terms of redress and validity of complaints. Although consumers can still contact the NCR/DRC for the complaints about the real estate, the forum cannot initiate sumoto complaint of this sort. In addition, the consumer forum cannot perform any inquiries. However, RERA has the power to take sumoto action against the perpetrator as well as investigate the matter and penal provisions under this Act. And some of the penalty and offences were given as per the RERA with regard to the promoters. The violation of law for punishment will be, it shall be punishable with around 3 years of imprisonment or fine up to 10% of the cost of building. and non-registration of the project, which is more important. And of course, in the beginning, actually, many of the peoples were not registering, but they started selling the property. But that's not correct. When the act was enacted, they are supposed to register their property, and they are allowed to sell the projects actually after registration. So when non-registration of project happens, they shall be punishable with a fine of 10% of estimated cost of building. And false information, if suppose anybody is giving the false information about the project or something like that, they shall be punished with a fine of 5% of the cost of building. So there are also penal punishments were there against agents. Some of them, let's see that actually, just for an understanding. The failure to comply with the authority, it shall be punishable with a penalty on a daily basis, which may extend to 5% of the cost of the building. Failure to comply with the tribunals, it shall be punishable with an imprisonment of 1 year with or without fine, which may be extended to 10% of the cost of the building. Failure to comply with the authority, it shall be punishable with a fine of 10,000 per day or 5% of the total cost of the building. And failure to comply with the tribunal, it shall be punishable with an imprisonment 1 year or with or without fine. The fine may be extended to 10% of the cost of the building. Non-registration, again, for agents also there is a non-registration. They are supposed to register compulsorily. It shall be punishable with a fine of rupees 10,000 per day or 5% of the total cost of the building. See, the engineers in RERA, whoever is working for the RERA project, they should understand what exactly they are given. But the engineers are required to understand about each and every aspect of the act. What exactly they need to understand is, one is agreement, that is JV, GPA, and other deeds and immovable property, what exactly they have mentioned. And they also need to understand about the person promoter and the prospectus, and also alati, apartment, family, which is in general it is required because you are involved in the project. So it is required to be understand with all these things as an engineer. Also the competent authority and local authority and member registration, rules and notifications and authority, and apart from that actually they need to know that what is the planning approval has been given for the project, and PPA, the commencement certificate, completion. These are all the things one has to understand about what is the meaning, when it has to be given, what it has to be given, how it has to be obtained. So estimated cost of real estate project, property project, in the beginning this has to be given in a form as stipulated in the rule. Let's see that also. And external internal development works, garage. See, these are all the meanings we need to understand. Unless an engineer is understand all these things, actually he cannot able to work out, he cannot able to work on the RERA. Area like plinth area, carpet area, one of the most important is carpet area. You need to know that, and how it has been specified in their submission. These are all the things one has to understand. And the common area, what exactly they given, what it has been provided, how much it has been given. These are all things actually one has to understand very clearly, without which actually what happened, it is very difficult for anyone actually what happened, it's very difficult. And let's see that I just wanted to go through that TN RERA to understand what exactly the regulations has been provided. Actually it has given in a chapter wise. The chapter, preliminary chapter gives about the commencement, what are the regulations, everything, and chapter 2 gives you the definition of act, address, adjudication and adjudicating officer. The detailing has been provided very clearly in that actually, with regard to the authority, chairperson, complaint, and how the complaint has to be made, and code, what is the meaning of code, and member means member of the authority, and proceedings, how the proceedings going to be there, and officer means officer of the authority, rule means the rule made under the act, regulations means Tamil Nadu is I'm referring here to TN regulatory authority. So it is referring to the Tamil Nadu Real Estate Regulatory Authority 2018, which is the amended one. And these are all the things which has been given, and areas of jurisdiction. So this is one of the most important thing actually. In TN RERA, it has been provided very clearly. It is applicable to the state of Tamil Nadu, both planning area and non-planning area, and also applicable to the Union Territory of Andaman Nicobar, which is coming under the TN RERA. So that is one of the reasons it was given in that. And coming to the chapter 3, the submission of application and the fee for the regulation, which has been given very clearly, they spelled out very clearly on the rule. And coming to the rule number 5, registration charges, they given very clearly about what is the registration charges has to be given, what are the exact thing which has to be paid. And coming to 6, publication of advertisements, how the advertisement has to be there by the promoter, which has been given very clearly. And coming to chapter 4, disclosures, which is more important. The formats and certificates, architect and engineers and chartered accountant. Of course, we have seen all these things, but they are given very clearly about how this has to be given. In Form 4 and Form 5, it has to be given very clearly. And Form 1 and 2, 3, what are the things has to be given. The chapter has been provided for this particular thing. It has detailing very clearly. And additional disclosures by promoter on the website after registration. See, some of the things has been given very clearly. After registration, the promoter has to put up in his website after the registration. And chapter 5 provides standard operating procedure, SOP, which is one of the most important things. How the procedure for dealing with the complaint. That has been given in the chapter 5. With that, actually what happened, the Form 8 and all these things has been detailed in that. And Form 6, complaints before the adjudicating officer, which has been detailed here in Form 6. And Form 7 is procedure before the appellate authority and adjudicator. The 7 chapter which gives very clearly about the in respect of complaints before the authority and the adjudicating officer. The procedure mentioned below in this regulations 12 and 17 under chapter 10 shall be followed. And with regard to the chapter 8, the presentation and scrutiny and numbering, endorsement of scrutiny, these are all the things has been given in that particular chapter. The registration numbers are given only on that chapter. And with regard to chapter 9, notice and service, how the notices will be issued, and service or process of the notice will be how. These are all the detailing has been given in chapter 9. Chapter 10 gives very clearly about the examination of witness and issue of commissions. This is one of the things which has been detailed in that section 10. And chapter 11, it is authority office, hours, and sittings and language, which has been detailed here. And language authority, which has been given here. And seal of authority, who is going to be the seal of authority, everything has been detailed here. And with regard to 12, the meetings of the authority has been detailed, how the meetings is happening, and what are the orders of authority, and collection of information, and how to maintain the confidentiality. These are all the things detailing has been provided here. And 13, chapter 13, the maintenance of registrations, how it has to be maintained. And 14, records of authority, what are the records of authority is there with regard to the complaint and main file, how they are maintaining everything, which has been detailed here in that chapter. And chapter 15, inspection record. The inspection record shows very clearly about what exactly they wanted to inspect, what is the time of inspection, between what time it will be inspected, and discover production, return of documents has been given in section 16. And section 17, certificate copies of order was as how this has been followed under Form 10. And chapter 18, it gives a general power of attorney and amendment to rectify. These are all the things has been provided here. And power to remove difficulties, this has been given in 19. And 20, this chapter is dealing with the saving inherent power of authority was shown here in that very clearly about the continuance of proceedings after the death of any peoples involved in that, actually extension of abridgment time prescribed and cost involved in that. These are all the things has been given. See, this actually I just wanted to project all these things. Actually, an engineer need to understand the complete rules. Actually, he has to understand the entire complete rule, without which actually what happened, it will be very difficult for him to get into the RERA Act. Okay, there are some of the intricacies also there in RERA, like real estate funding. Of course, the peoples are diverting the fund because they collect the fund, but they will not do the work actually as per the RERA. These are all the things actually one has to see that actually. And adjudication before RERA. See, even today, in fact, I saw the recent one of the case. Supreme Court has given order saying that the consumer can even file a case in the consumer forum. It is not that he has to go and file in a tribunal, RERA tribunal. So these are all the things which has been given, and penal provisions. Even after the order, actually, some of the people, actually, some of the developers, they have not done any penal interest or something like that. It was not there. Even the cases are coming out like that actually. Of course, the impact on Indian economy, you can see that all the three acts were implemented together when the RERA was implemented, like demonetization, GST, and RERA. So this made actually what happened. There was a real impact was there on the economy, and it's very difficult for the small builders to get into the RERA. They were started doing only within that less than 500 square meter. And implementation of RERA in all state across India should be made uniform, and the rules has to be adopted on uniform basis. The corporate area descriptions as per section 3 of RERA, which is more important, the corporate area which has to be look into that actually, and it has to be very clear. It should be easily understandable by everybody. With the inclusion of RERA approval, the total required to be taken is increased for the builder. Truth, apart from the regular approval and other NOCs, with all these things, actually what happens, this is one of the additional development, but this is essential, but this is required. But coming to the, okay, we have seen the responsibility, we have seen what is RERA, what is the adjudication is there, and even today there are a lot of quality issues are happening in the real estate properties. The quality issues, when it was filed, the complaint was filed, it was not taken up by the builder very promptly. This is one of the main aspects which has to be seen actually. And here I just wanted to highlight some of the engineers' integrity and ethical requirement for the engineers in RERA. The engineers should be more careful while issuing the RERA certification. I just wanted everyone to follow this, every engineer who is involved in this. Never issue or work under the influence of builder or developer or promoter. You just take your own decision after inspection, and never casual on issuing the certificate or the report. You have to be very, very, very careful. Without inspection, don't give the certificate. Collect all the relevant documents and record for the certification for your backup support to relay for issue of certificate. This is one of the most important. See, unless you see the whole document related to that, actually, you are not supposed to sign. You have to see the approval plan, and you have to see the working cost, what will be the exact cost it will happen, everything you have to see. Without that, actually, you are not supposed to issue anything. Take expert opinion if required before issue of report. Mention the same in the expert opinion report. Always express very clearly, also qualify your opinion or statement very clearly in your report. I just wanted one more thing actually. Presently what happened, the engineers are allowed to certify only for the estimated cost versus completion for releasing the escrow account fund. But they should be permitted to certify for the quality of work at each and every stage. That is quality audit. Even in Tamil Nadu, the CMD has approved for construction engineer, resident engineer, quality auditors. The quality auditors are there. They are registered with the CMDA. These engineers can be used in the RERA for certification. I don't know why it is not happening. They are taking from even the builders are submitting the report. They take the inputs from the engineers, site engineers, and they submit that actually. Here actually what happened with regard to the quality, definitely actually what happened there must be a quality engineer or quality auditors should be sign the report. That is more important. It should be made mandatory. Then only what happened, when the third party auditor is there, it will be good for everyone actually. So this is one of the requests I just wanted to put up across here with all the prominent associations and CADEC also to take up this particular thing, so that what happens, the engineers will get additional job oriented thing actually, so that they can visit the site, they can have a checklist kind of a thing actually for each and everything. They can go through that, they can advise that. Instead actually after any failure happens, actually what happens on quality issues, There are, even today, there are many of the quality issues are there which have been filed, complaint has been filed in RERA as well as in Consumer Forum. It was not addressed at all. In fact, the project is not come under RERA. I got an opportunity to inspect one of the property in Chennai. I was very surprised to see that actually the way in which the apartment was done. You will not know that actually the apartment was purchased. Each and every apartment was purchased by the IT professional, and many of the company GM, many big peoples have purchased that flat actually. The association president called me for inspection. When I visited there, I could see a lot of cracks, air cracks were there. That is because of the improper curing. Not only that, actually, the septic tank water is overflowing. It was under design, and it was not planned very well. There is no soak pit is there, so entire water was flowing on the tilt floor. This kind of a thing actually what happened with the proper planning and while executing proper stage inspection and third party audit is must. This is what I just wanted to stress. Though the promoter is submitting the 3 months quarterly report, they are giving along with the quarterly report, the ECA engineers or IEA chartered engineer, the professional engineers may be allowed to sign this quality audit report, which is more important for the RERA to come forward actually to help the engineers to get it signed. This has to be made as a rule. This is what my request from my opinion and my request to the CADC actually, so that actually the engineers will get the job also. Finally, before closing that, I would like to mention here actually RERA to be implemented across the country with a uniform manner. And some of the states actually they mentioned very clearly about what is the role of engineers and how the quality report has to be submitted. So the same thing has to be implemented across the country, so that both buyers and sellers will be protected under this rule, that is RERA rule. So with that, I am completing my speech on this day, on this ICW. Once again, I thank Dr. Jain, Dr. Swaroop, and Dr. Ratnavel, and ICW CADC for the wonderful opportunity given to me, and I sincerely thank you one and all. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I am Subramanya Smoothi Tata. I have obtained my Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering from Andhra University. Subsequently, I did my Master of Technology in Structural Management from NIT Bhopal. I am a Chartered Engineer and a Fellow in Institute of Engineers from Engineers Institute of India, and I am a member of American Society of Civil Engineers in a Structural Engineering Institute and International Society of Soil Mechanics and Geotechnical Engineering and Transportation Development Institute. I am also member in International Association of Engineers Hong Kong. I am a fellow in Institution of Engineers, and I am also life member from Harvard Square. I am also registered professional engineer from Engineering Council of India, and I am also registered engineer from Chennai Municipal Corporation. First of all, let me thank all of you for giving me a chance to present this topic, that is digitalization and mechanization of construction, to all the audience in the International Construction Week. So let us start the mechanization of construction. So now the agenda is what is mechanization and why is mechanization, history of mechanization, execution of projects, advantages of mechanization, and selection of appropriate equipment, and the common types of machinery, mode of selection for a project, mode of mechanization for construction industry, and conclusion. So now, why mechanization of construction? What is mechanization of construction? If you look at this, what is mechanization of construction? It's very simple. Mechanization is the process of shifting from working largely of exclusively by hand, in other words by manpower, to do that working using machines. The construction projects are becoming more demanding and complicated in construction, and delay of projects would arise if conventional construction method is used. So here basically the simple meaning of the definition is, when there is huge amount of manpower, we need to divert the manpower, or we need to cut the manpower by mechanization and digitalization. That's how we can be made the sites by mechanization and construction. Why mechanization of construction is required? Reasons for mechanization is the construction industry. The work can be performed rapidly. The projects are completed in the given time. Big quantity of materials can be managed, so the size of project can be made bigger. Irrigate projects which involve good quantity and quality of material. So here the advantages are simple in case of mechanization of construction and digitalization. First of all, we don't need so many human manpower in the sites. And second one is the speed of the work can be improved or enhanced, and the quality of the work can be enhanced. Similarly, the cost of the work can be cut down by completing the projects on time. Here you have to stress down this point. If you construct any project on time, the cost will enormously come down. If you use human manpower fully, the project tends to extend beyond the planned time, and therefore there will be a lot of implications on the cost of the project. So that point can be cut down by using the mechanization. Similarly, safety. When there are more manpower, the likelihood of accidents may be very high, whereas in case of machinery, since there are more skilled manpower involved, especially operators, etc., the incidents may happen very low and not likely also. So let us first use the history of what is the history of mechanization. First, in 1886, a grader is used in the of-course drawn by animals. An animal using the grader, using the animals, that was used in the United States of America. A modern grader has come into the picture in 1986. Another scraper in olden times used to run by the horses. Whatever the scrapers are there, which used to run by the horses. And bulldozer was introduced in the year 1984, which is used to push the materials. Bulldozer means nothing but to push the material, etc., and used for the shifting of material. And the Caterpillar in 1909 in USA for the construction of rural roads. Most of the rural roads in United States of America has been built by using the Caterpillar in the 19th century early itself. Similarly, compactor was used in 1865 in UK. So now let us understand what is mechanization. Mechanization is the process of changing from working largely or exclusively by hand to doing that work with machinery. A project comprises various activities of diverse nature. Many attributes increased mechanization in India to the shortage of unskilled manpower. Delays in construction are costly and have prompted developers to use and embrace mechanization. But this is not only the reason. Though mechanization cuts cost and time, developed nations tend to use most primitive technology, which had developed countries use most advanced technology. India is always lagging behind. these developed countries in using advanced technology in construction because developers do not have enough capable space to acquire sophisticated machinery. So here once if they come back, in any project in India, most of the projects you can say, we have lot of manpower. Once if you use manpower, the attrition of the manpower is very high in any project. We don't have direct control on the manpower, especially on the working time of the projects. We cannot force them. So as a result, the project gets delayed, and also this so-called manpower work as per their own knowledge, and as a result the quality can be deteriorated. So these are the major two defects, and also we require huge space for the labor colony when you put manpower into any big project. So other than that, other facilities like we need to provide lot of water and facilities to the manpower, including electricity, etc. They are extra costly. So if you want to really cut down all these aspects, the only option is mechanization and digitalization. Hence, these are the reasons mechanization is very much required in any project in India. Now, execution of projects. Implementing construction works that requires buildings is very complicated, and labor tasks requires the use of various types of machines and equipment. Technologies for building construction are still being developed and implemented to limit people's hard work and improve work efficiency and quality in innovative construction solutions. New opportunities for improving work on the construction site, including computerization of technological process and construction management for projects, are the processes. Execution of each activity should be planned meticulously to ensure sequential execution in time. There is no alternative to adapt mechanical construction methods to achieve more in less time. One of the decisions of deployment of construction equipment taken, required construction equipment need to be identified for the job. Let us see a case study here. We have a typical 10 residential buildings in a township coming up. Now, there are 2 points to be discussed here. One is the manpower. Can we deploy manpower for all the buildings parallelly at the same time? The answer is not possible because we don't have that much manpower. So now what is the solution? Right from excavation. Excavation is the first activity after the survey. Once we complete survey, the next point is the excavation. I need to put up different excavators in different places so that with minimum or optimum manpower I can do the excavation. The second activity coming is the PCC. For before the after or piles. Similarly, if you want to do piles, I can do it by using a pile rigging machine at different buildings. Then and so on concreting. Different concrete pumps can be placed at different buildings and concreting can be done. Whereas in case of human manpower, it is not practically possible. We require huge amount of manpower. That much is theoretically not possible to deploy at one site. So this is one of the areas need to be noticed as per the case study, that yes, we do require mechanization and optimum mechanization in any project. Next point, a construction project may be of two types. One is linear project, involved concept, design, procurement and construction. And a traditional approach, which includes fast tracker project, that is only design and building. And a first tracker job, design and construction being almost simultaneous. Construction work started even when the design engineers are working on the foundations of the structures. This happens when the completion time is considered as a critical and competitive building is not essential. Design and construction work are set on parallel tracks. In both cases, the intent of planning and implementation should be construction cost should not exceed the budget, quality, safety and with the time of the project and fulfilling the specifications of the buildings, drawings, codes, etc. And the time of execution has to remain within the agreed construction time schedule. So here there is a major chunk of things to be understand. The first one is, one has to understand for any project there are 4 factors which are very important. The first one is the time, the second one is the cost, the third one is the quality, the fourth one is the safety. So if you maintain all these 4 projects, the project can be completed on time. Let us compare 2 scenarios here. The first scenario is where we are executing the project using huge manpower, and another one using the 40% machinery case. So which project we can complete on time with good quality and safety? Definitely the project with 40% machinery and digitalization can complete the project on time. Whereas a project with the maximum manpower cannot complete the project, because as you are all aware, there are so many things which disturbs the manpower engagement at site. Like for example, so many projects are running in one city. If this labor people or workman gets more salary, they will jump to another area. Therefore, your project manpower will be affected. So then it needs a lot of time to fulfill the gap there, because here you have a budget constraint. You may or you may not afford them at the same rate that what they are demanding. Similarly, the quality. The quality in case of the machinery is much better. For example, if I give you a simple illustration of a, let us say let us do concreting by using machinery and by manually. If you deploy a concrete boom pressure and concrete pumps with automation, the operator can just turn the button and started operating the concrete at different levels and with minimum manpower. Whereas if you use concreting by manually, it will take a lot of time, which will definitely delay the project. This is a simple theory. In the same way, each and every activity. We have already discussed excavation. Now the second major activity we are discussing is the concrete. Similarly, plastering, laying of tiles. So there are so many other activities. Painting. So there are so many activities. If you use machinery, if you put a lot of scaffolding on a painting, it will take time. Whereas if you use the scaffolding platform, it will be much faster. So this is how mechanization works in construction. What are the advantages of mechanization? I have given you a case study. From that it is quite evident that this mechanization is having an economic advantage, because we don't need so many human manpower. We only require machinery, and the quality can be improved, the product quality can be improved, and the project is more safe because less manpower is involved. So our efforts to train the manpower will be less, so that we can concentrate more on the quality and the safety of the project and the cost of the project. And the project will be on time and it will be speedy. And the project is quite feasible with the machinery. In any project, the cost of construction is a major factor in all projects. Therefore, there are factors influencing the construction costs, such as labor, material, construction equipment, profits, indirect costs, etc. Cost of construction equipment ranges from 25% to 40% of the total project cost. Deployment of construction equipment is done for the reasons as mentioned here. To have larger output, cost-effective implementation, for execution of work that is not feasible by many human efforts, not when deployment construction equipment may be helping doing the work most cost-effectively. To reduce the amount of heavy manual work which would cause fatigue, thereby allowing material and manual efforts to be more productive. Large output can be maintained even if there is a shortage of skilled and semi-skilled manpower, as operators of construction equipment are of different category. Precision implementation is required by the sophisticated design engineering. Such precision can be maintained by using modern construction equipment and digitalization, especially using the software controls. This case we have already discussed. For example, I will put you another case. During COVID-19, we are all aware that we don't have any manpower on the site. So Japan has wonderfully built a dam using robots on time. This is practically happened. They have used robots to build the dam. So the dam was completed before time. This is how digitalization is in construction applies. Similarly, if you use excavator, the output is definitely more. If you use concrete or pump, the boom dozer, the concrete boom place of the concrete output is more. Similarly, if you use a plastic machine, the output is very high. One man can complete even 200 square feet in one day, one man with one helper. So the manpower is minimum there. There are certain activities where humans cannot be done, like JGP grouting, which is inside the ground. Similarly, TAM grouting, which is inside the ground, where only operators are required. They are very well trained. They can do the job more better with minimum execution or minimum supervision is required here. So these are the various activities. Similarly, if you go for an underground construction, lot of strutting will be there and valors will be there. There lot of mechanization is required. For board piles is totally not possible by manual base. You should have a piling rig and you should have a trimming pipe in place and you should have a bentonite plant. So these are the various machinery required in construction. Of course, in India now, recently they are all implementing this construction. And of course, for surveys and all, we need to use drones and everything, drone surveys and everything, and satellite surveys. This will enhance even the speed of the project. How to select the appropriate equipment now for any job? The ideal forms of part of construction planning process. It's a part of the construction planning process and should be chosen for performing any particular task only after analysis of many interrelated factors. The important factors for consideration are: what is the function to be performed, first point, and what is the capacity of the equipment you require? What is the method of operation you require? Is it semi-digital, fully digital, or fully mechanical? Limitations of the method. What are the various limitations of the method? Costs of the method. What is the exact cost of the method to be done? And cost comparison with the methods. First of all, you have to develop a methodology. How you are going to do it with so many options. Then select the best method and the best machinery for it, so that your work and life will be more easy. Similarly, personal possible modifications. If any modifications can be done, then how we can do it. Most used construction equipment in the mechanization. There are so many machinery, as we have already discussed. Conveying equipment, aggregate and concrete production equipments, pile driving equipment, vibro hammer, tunneling and rock drilling equipment, pumping and dewatering pumps, earth moving equipment, hauling equipment, hoisting equipment, lifting equipment, crawler cranes, mobile cranes, then JGP machines, tank loading machines, then compactors, dozers, asphaltic pavers, etc. etc. They are the machines. Other than this, robots also can be used in the construction. Different sources of equipment for mechanization in construction. Equipment source can be divided into two divisions. One is short term and another one is long term. Short term is divided into two types: testing and leasing with provision to purchase later. So here you can go for good idea. Whenever any activity requires, for example, plastering machine, it is a short term activity you feel, hire it or rent it, so that it will be cheap for your project. Similarly, excavator. Most of the construction companies take excavators or hire only, unless there is a huge excavation, like in case of water ponds, and in case of wastewater treatment plants, and in case of sewage treatment plants, etc. They need a lot of excavation to be done, hence they buy the equipment. For building companies, like, it's not required. It's not recommended because mostly footings are isolated. And long term is divided into three parts: buying and down cash. So certain machines are required, like for example cranes. This is very much required at the site. So cranes you need to buy if it is a high-rise building. It all depends upon how many types of cranes you use. Similarly, concrete pump is required because concreting is a continuous process here. So these are the two important machineries, plus a small compactor is required whenever there is a backfilling. So these are the minimum machinery required on site. And it is better to buy a JCB on site also, so that in any case of waste, your housekeeping can be maintained very fast in comparison with the human manpower. How to decide whether I have to buy a rental machine or a purchase a machine? We have already discussed, if it is a crane going to last for 5 years in one project, you better buy it. Don't rent it because the rental will be more costly. Similarly, with the excavation you use, you need to excavate and backfill, then you buy a JCB or a excavator. Similarly, in underground stations, if there is a lot of jet grouting in 2 layers, buy a JGP machine or hire from some subcontractor. Both can work. So, similarly, compactor, it's better to have a compactor. It is very much expensive. Vibrators, concrete needle vibrators, you better buy it. Because if you hire it, it will be more costly. So there are relatively depends, and the decision can be taken by the project manager by the cost analysis, by doing the cost analysis. Let us say if I hire a machine, per month how much it will cost. If I buy a machine, how many months my project will be there? Let us say 4 years. And these 4 years, how much I am going to get back from the machinery. So all these things can be compared and you can take a decision very easily. Need of mechanization for the construction industry. This is very important point. Mechanization caters in several functionalities. Some of these are given below. The work done can be very speed work can happen. The work can done in time. Large quantity of material can be handled. The complex projects involving high grade materials, the high quality standards can be maintained. Time schedule can be kept. Optimum of material, manpower and finance can be maintained. Conclusion. So now let us go for the conclusion. Mechanization in Indian construction started with the use of prefab and precast systems of construction, mainly for construction of bridges, tunnel segments and big industrial buildings, etc. However, mechanization got a big boost with ready-mix concrete. From 2000, after the introduction of ready-mix concrete plants, a lot of mechanization has started happening in India. So the construction has picked up faster in comparison with the previous years. Mechanization in construction most vigorously pursue the efficient utilization of labor, material and equipment. Once if you put machinery and equipment there, you don't need more manpower, as you are aware. So with minimum manpower and optimum manpower, you can complete the project and you can increase the productivity, and also the quality can be enhanced, and also the speed of the work can be enhanced. and material handling can be done very safely and smoothly, which includes procurement, inventory, stock fabrication, field services, etc. Most of the, for example, steel, these trusses that can be prefabricated and put it into the directly erected onto the sites in case of industrial buildings. So that is one very good advantage where you don't require so much manpower. Using a crane, you can install it, but you can fabricate on the simple platform on the site. So this is all about mechanization, digitalization, and so I hope I have covered mostly mechanization and digitalization of construction and how it has to happen in India. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, thank you for listening to my seminar on mechanization and digitalization concept in construction, and to improve quality, safety, and complete the projects on time. Thank you.